This is before we dive into Goldie Buy's risk management scam, aka how not to die holding Misswise bags. Section 5 disclaimer. Listen up, Lodu and Legends. Before we dive into this circus called risk management, let me slap you with reality. If you think risk management is boring, you're already halfway to becoming Kartike the bag holder or Sudhanshu the margin call victim. These two clowns treat stop loss like it's an optional Tinder bio line and then cry when their portfolio gets railed harder than my girlfriend when she cheated. Don't worry, karma bitch. Valhalla sent a car to handle that. Risk isn't a side dish. It's the f***ing seatbelt. You don't wear it because you look cool. You wear it because the market doesn't care if you crash headfirst into 2008, 2020, or the next lithium bubble pop. So yeah, laugh now, but remember, no stop loss equals no balls, only losses. No position sizing equals one trade, full account rip. No plan, miss why, fuck eats your soul. This section is not about getting rich quick. It's about not dying poor faster than your ex moved on. Welcome to Valhalla's Risk Dojo, where Goldie Buy scams you with risk formulas, but at least you'll survive long enough to scam Miss Y back. Do you want me? Risk management, the seatbelt of trading that nobody wears until they crash. Section 5, Introduction. Welcome to the graveyard of wannabe traders, Lodu and Legends. This is the section where dreams go to die, not because of bad strategies, but because people treat risk like a side quest instead of the f***ing main storyline. Here's the ugly truth. 95% of traders blow up their accounts not because they're dumb, but because they're greedy dumb. Risk management is not for the weak. It's for the survivors who get to stick around long enough to actually win. You think you're special? Bro, the market doesn't care about your vibes, your astrology app, or your gut feeling. Without risk control, you're roadkill in front of the Wall Street bus. This section is not sexy. Nobody brags. I became a billionaire because I respected my stop loss. But behind every legend who makes it out alive, there's boring discipline. Stop losses, position sizing, portfolio hedging. And yeah, I know, you're probably here for fast money, God mode chaos, and flexing screenshots. But guess what? Without risk management, those screenshots turn into memes of before and after bankruptcy. So welcome to Valhalla's Dojo of Discipline, where we learn the art of surviving, not just gambling. By the end of this section, you'll understand why risk isn't a cage. It's your f***ing wings. Section 5, Deep Dive, Risk Management. The seatbelt you ignore at your peril. This is the part most people skip because it's boring. That's also why 95% of clowns blow up. Risk management isn't optional. It's the difference between surviving and becoming a nightmarish meme. Number 1. What risk management actually is. Simple. Risk management equals the rules you use so one bad trade doesn't turn into bankruptcy. It's boring math plus cold discipline, plans for the world's nastiest surprises. Funding drying up, sudden margin calls, liquidity evaporating, God's puking out. Number 2. Core concepts, the handful that matter. Position sizing. How big each trade is relative to your capital. Stop loss, a pre-planned exit to limit loss per trade. Risk per trade, percentage of portfolio you're willing to lose if the stop hits. Common, 0.5 to 2%. Portfolio risk, sum of correlated bets. Diversification controls it. Leverage and margin, amplifies gains and losses. Dangerous when funding dries. Drawdown, peak to trough loss of your portfolio. Survival depends on limiting drawdowns. Liquidity risk, ability to exit without wrecking price. Godzi controls this. Tail risk, low probability high damage events, black swans. Hedge or size down. Number 3, position sizing. How to size trades exact with example. Simple rule. Risk a fixed percent of capital per trade. 1. Choose capital. C equals 100,000, example. Choose risk per trade. R equals 1% equal 0.01. 3. Risk amount in money. R equals C times R. R equals 1,000 times 0.01 equals 1,000 rupees at risk. 4. Entry price E equals 100. Stop price S equals 95. 5. Risk per share equals E minus S equals 100 minus 95 equals 5 rupees. 6. Position size shares equals R of E minus S. Position size equal 1,000 or 5 equals 200 shares. So buy 200 shares at 100 with stop at 95. If stop hits, you lose 1,000, which is 1% of capital. Clean, unemotional, repeatable. Rule of thumb, risk per trade to 1 to 2% for risky strategies, lower for levered or high volatility plays. Snotter 4, stop loss placement. Not guessing, use methods. Volatility-based, ATR, place stop equals entry minus K's ATR, K often 1.5 to 3. If ATR equals 3 and K equals 2, stop 6 away. Structural stop, below clear support, below pattern invalidation level. Time stop, if your trade doesn't move as planned in X days, exit. Mental stop, execution. Set, then execute with limit market orders or OCO. Don't pussy out. Number 5, leverage. The silent killer, exact example. 2 times leverage example. You have equity E equals 100,000. You open position worth P equals 200,000, borrowed out at 100K. If price falls 50%, P becomes 100,000. Lender is paid 100K. Your equity equals P minus loan equals 100,000. Minus 100,000 equals 0. Result, 50% move wipes you out. That's the power of leverage in plain math. Rule, reduce leverage as volatility or funding risk rises. If you don't know funding mechanics, repo, margin rules, don't use leverage. Number 6, diversification versus correlation. The false comfort. Diversify across uncorrelated sources. Stocks, bonds, cash, tiny tactical risk. But when markets crash, correlations rise. Everything falls. That's why diversified can still crater. Use risk allocation, percent of portfolio risk, not percent of capital. E.g., target equity risk 70% of total risk, bonds 30%. Monitor concentration, a single thematic bet, e.g., all EV miners equals high correlation, high risk. Number 7, drawdowns, survival math. If you lose 50% of portfolio, you need 100% gain to recover. Example, start 100K, lose 50%, 50K. To get back to 100K, you need to double 100% gain. Minimize drawdowns. Target max drawdown 10-20% for survival. Bigger drawdowns require much larger rebounds. 8, hedging and tail protection. Practical, not magical. Simple hedges. Buy put options on the index to cap losses. Cost equals premium. Inverse ETFs. Short-term hedges. Dangerous if held long-term. Decay. Diversify into real-world assets. Some allocation to short-duration bonds, commodities, or cash. Stress hedges. Structures that pay off only in crisis. Expensive but compact. Dynamic hedging. Reevaluate hedge size as exposure changes. Hedging costs money. Count it as insurance premium. If you want total upside with zero insurance, you'll get the pain later. NAR 9, risk metrics to monitor. Keep these simple. VAR, value at risk, a sense of worst expected loss over horizon. Useful but blind to tails. Expected shortfall/CVR, average loss in worst cases. Better for tail awareness. Sharp Sortino, risk-adjusted returns, but only historical. Max drawdown, peak to trough, worst loss. Position limit per name, max percent of portfolio conventional, e.g. 5% capital cap, 1-2% risk cap. Number 10, scenario and stress testing. Do it before crisis. Run simple scenarios. Rate shock, rates 200 BPS overnight, impact on bonds, cost of funding, margin. Liquidity shock, bid-ask spreads widen 5 times. What happens to your exits? Counterparty fails, exchange freezes withdrawals, can you exit? Commodity shock, lithium supply cut 50%, your EV miners collapse. If scenario blows, max tolerated loss, reduce exposure now. Number 11, execution and operational risk. The boring killers. Slippage and spread cost you actual money, especially in thin markets. Exchange outages and API failures ruin automated strategies, build fail-safes. Counterparty risk, know where your cash is parked. Exchanges, lenders, brokers can be sketchy. Automation risks, logging, kill switches, monitoring alerts, build them or quit. SNAR 12, behavioral risk, the human virus. FOMO destroys discipline. Sunk cost, refusing to cut losers to avoid admitting mistake. Overtrading, chasing noise, paying fees. Combat with pre-trade plan, set risk, and automatic execution. Journal every trade, review monthly. SHAR 13, risk rules you must commit to. Copy exactly. 1, max risk per trade equals 1% of capital. Adjust down for high volatility plays. 2, max leveraged exposure equals 2 TSANGs unless professional with funding plan. 3, max portfolio drawdown tolerance equals 20%. Reevaluate at 10%. 4, no single name exposure, 5% capital, or 2% risk budget. 5, always use a hard stop or hedging alternative. No exceptions. 6, keep 5 to 20% cash dry powder depending on risk appetite. 7, maintain a trade journal and review weekly. 14, trade journal, the weapon of survivors. Record entry, size, stop, thesis, 1 sentence, outcome, lesson. Review, weekly mistakes, monthly PL by strategy. If you can't explain why you lost, don't repeat it. 15, Practical examples and quick saves. If GODC liquidity spooks, reduce size 50%, tighten stops, raise cash. If funding markets spike, repo, borrowing rate, cut leveraged trades immediately. If central bank does emergency liquidity ops, markets are already fragile. Don't add risk. Najabur 16 final roasts for flavor. Kartikai Chutia buys 10% position in a pumpy miner, no stop, diamond hands. Gets margin called. Posts prayer screenshots. Legend, how not to trade. Sudhanshu Chutia shorts overvalued thing using full leverage during a liquidity squeeze. Margin call at 3 a.m. Family calls. Banks laugh. Goldie Buy sizes small, hedges quietly, watches OEMs and pilots, and drinks chai while others burn. Number 17. Valhalla mic drop. Tattoo it. Open quote, risk is the grammar of markets. Speak it correctly or be reduced to punctuation. Close quote. Number 18, action checklist. Do this now, 5 items. 1, set one risk per trade number and write it down, 0.5 to 1%. 2, build a size calculator, manual is fine, and test with one trade example. 3, create stop rules, ATR or structural. Pick one and use it for 30 days. 4, make a trade journal template and log every trade for 2 weeks. 5, put emergency steps on sticky note. Reduce leverage, move to cash, close volatile bets.